was back from my boarding school on the coast with my family again. On country. Our country. Grandad was teaching me the land, so I wouldn't forget where I belonged. He taught my dad, but my dad died. Now he taught me. He didn't want me to just be a city boy. He wanted me to know, to remember, to sing. We'd go bush, and he'd show me how to survive, how to see and hear it, how to love it, what we could eat, where water was, where the sacred places were, why they were sacred, who could touch that sacred, who could sing it, who could not. The trip I'm talking about, we'd been out for about a week. I was tired. I was missing my phone, but I was starting to understand. At least, I thought I was. Grandad never said more than was needed, but I could tell when he was pleased with me because he'd put his hand on my hand. He'd say, "You feeling it?" Then he'd smile his secret smile and say, "You're feeling it." And at night, he'd tell the stories and sing until I slept. I don't know if he ever slept. He'd be cooking damper when I woke, boiling the billy, whispering. Grandad was deep, like a borehole that reached down to sweet water. He never pushed. He knew how to wait. He was like an old tree, stronger than fire and impervious to drought. He had his roots planted in millennia. I tell my kids about him now. One day, I will take them back to learn what he taught me. One day soon. And he will be there, with me, with them, still singing, with us. That day, the day we saw him, Grandad was showing me the gorge. He told me it had permanent water at the bottom and a wild acoustic that, if you were in the rocky alcove he led me to, allowed you to hear a whisper spoken at the bottom of the gorge, as clear as if the speaker was leaning into your ear. That's why we heard him before we saw him. A conversation with one voice. Doubts and fears and hopes and confidences ringing back and forth from the walls. Prayers, ramblings. Grandad motioned for me to be silent. Then he pointed down. He was at the bottom of the gorge, by the water. His campsite nothing more than a swag, a fire and a backpack. He looked half gone, crazy, thin, exhausted, a mess. "Mad boy?" I asked Grandad. He listened for a long time, then shook his head. "Not mad." "What's he doing here?" I whispered. "This is not his place." Grandad just stared me down. "This is nobody's place. This place just is. He came looking. It called to him. He listened. Now he's here, so he's welcome." There was one tree growing by the water. There was one cockatoo in the tree, quietest cocky ever, just sitting, watching Mad Boy. Sometimes flew out, always came back. Grandad sat, so I sat. We watched and listened for hours. His words started to form patterns, rhythms, a sort of song. Every word clear as a bell, beautiful words, sad words, scared words, longing words, brave words. We ate and drank quietly from our bags. He sipped water from the source. He lit his fire. He didn't cook. He sang. He slept real early. Grandad sang softly over him and me. We slept. The paintings on the walls of the alcove slipped into my dreams, danced with the prayer songs of the starving man, made me calm, made me hungry. When we woke, He was up and praying again, but he still didn't cook or eat. "He's got no food. He's going to starve," I whispered. "Maybe, maybe not," said Grandad. "Maybe that's why we got called here, to watch out for him." So we started a routine. We'd go out for the morning, Grandad showing, me seeing and hearing. We'd forage and hunt and cook. Then we'd head back to make sure Mad Boy was still upright, still alive. Mad Boy, that was my name for him. Grandad didn't like it. But I couldn't understand what he was doing. Praying and starving and praying. For 3 days. We watched as he got weaker. Drinking, not eating. He never saw us. Never heard us. I think all his senses were turned inwards. Maybe just focused on survival, maybe attuned to something or someone I couldn't access. And then the weather turned. It was around 4 in the afternoon, and we'd come back because the sky was darkening and we needed shelter. The wind rose, thunder and dry lightning ripped across the evening, flashing strobe lightning across the rocks. As we watched, a dust storm formed and a mad willy-willy spun into the gorge, blocking out the sun and racing towards Mad Boy. One minute we could see him and the next he was gone. His camp and his fire and him hidden by dust, nothing but spinning shadows and leaves and a big white bloke cooking snags on a barbecue. He's wearing an apron that said, "I believe I can fry." Fluoro Crocs on his feet and floral boardies. There's a huge esky full of beers next to him and a table set with bread, sauce and salads, a camping chair almost bigger than the bloke and a speaker banging out, "I come from a land down under." He wraps a giant snag in a wad of bread and sauce, cracks open a beer, then sits in the chair with his feet on the esky and turns to Mad Boy and asks, "Hungry?" I'd already eaten that day and my mouth was watering. It smelt good. Real good. Better than bush tucker. "Plenty to go round," says the big bloke. Big smile. Big fake smile. Big fake nasty smile. The sort of smile that basically says, "Watch your back." Grandad's gone as still as a waterhole. He's watching like a circling hawk. Mad Boy is sitting in the remains of his camp looking gobsmacked. Looking hungry. Looking crazy hungry. But not moving. Not replying. Just watching the big bloke. The smiling man finishes his snag. Then gets another one. Loads up a plate and grabs a second beer. Sits and takes his time, stuffing his face. "Can't tempt you then," he mumbles through his mouthful. Mad Boy just sits, still as the rocks. "My food not good enough for you?" The big fella laughs. "Well, no worries. If you're the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. No biggie for you, eh? Go on, fill your boots." There was a long silence. Mad Boy stood up. Grandad stopped breathing, and I want to shout, "Don't do it!" But I can't move or breathe. Mad Boy walks towards the barbecue while the big bloke grins wider than the Cheshire cat. He reaches out his hand like he's going to grab a snag, and even Mr. Smiley looks tense. The walls of the gorge start leaning in, and then Mad Boy flips the barbecue over and scatters the food. Food that spills, slides away like sand. He kicks the esky and it turns to dust, topples the table, scattering leaves and twigs where salad once sat. All illusion. He turns to the big fella, who's looking smaller and smaller. "It is written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." The big fella shimmers and twists. The smile is gone and his face is a rictus of hatred. The willy-willy rises again from the ground, lifting and covering them both, and when it retreats to the far end of the gorge, all that is left is Mad Boy, hugging his knees and murmuring words of thanks and praise. The tree's got no leaves left, and the cock is looking pretty ruffled. We need to take that boy home, Grandad. Get him to a hospital, I say. We're going crazy with him. Not yet, the old man says. Not yet. It's not finished yet. Don't be afraid. He's a strong one. Mad Boy rebuilt his fire, the flames dancing on the rock faces, like a rave without the music, a silent corroboree moving around him, keeping him safe. He slept. We slept. Mad dreams and Grandad singing all night. In the morning, bright light, and the smiling man back again. He walks in this time. Black suit, black shirt, black tie, hard hat, clipboard, pen, stands next to Mad Boy, clicks his fingers, and the walls of the gorge shift and stretch, pulling upwards and forming architectural planes. Our alcove becomes the space under the roof of the tallest part of the structure. I'm in it, but I can see it too. It's the temple in the city, the biggest one, the temple, growing in the gorge and looking out over the scrub and the forest Grandad and I have been exploring and learning. I can see forever. I'm scared. Grandad sits. He takes his hat off. There's the scuffing of feet moving on the roof above our heads. Voices. I can hear the man in black talking. What's your footing, boy? Long way down. But of course that doesn't worry you, eh? Mind you, you're looking a bit wobbly. Might be easier just to let go and fall. No shame in that, is there? No risk for you, is there? Nothing from Mad Boy. The cockatoo circling. Silent. You look scared, boy. You don't need to be scared. We know who's got your back, don't we? Or maybe you're not as sure as all that. Well, take a look at that view. Beautiful, eh? You look a bit green, son, except for your knuckles. They look white as bone. Fair cop. It's an occupational health and safety nightmare up here, eh? I tell you to get a grip, but you're hanging on tighter than a limpet already. Don't tell me you were scared. There was a scrabbling of feet. I heard Mad Boy catch his breath. Careful, boy, slippery these tiles. You could fall. Or you could jump. Test your faith. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. Of course, they might not too. Angels might be on smoke, eh? Want to try it? I'll keep a record. Answer the question once and for all. And I heard Mad Boy simply say, Again, it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Grandad snorted with laughter. The temple collapsed in on itself. The man in black just had time to yell, gutless wonder! And there we were, back in our rock alcove, and Mad Boy was lying next to the waterhole, still and stiff as a board. Grandad, I whispered, he's dying. Maybe, the old man said. Maybe not. We'll watch him. Let him sleep. Can I at least go down and make him a fire while he sleeps? Later, says Grandad. Later. It's not time yet. Come. That view reminded me of a place I need to show you. Let's go. And he stood up and walked. So I followed. Mad Boy was not moving. When we got back at dusk, he still hadn't moved. I looked at Grandad pleadingly, but he just shook his head. You'll know when. He'll freeze. It's warm enough. You watch. So I did. He didn't sit up, but his lips started to move. I could hear his breath rasp. He started to sing again. It was hard to listen to. His voice was almost gone. His breathing was ragged. The words were distinct, but sad, deeply sad. desperate. Then, just before he fell asleep again, it changed. The song changed. A song of trust. He was singing himself back into life, giving thanks. Grandad was singing too. I didn't know this one. His words were mingling with Mad Boy's, and I swear they were harmonising. But that couldn't have been. I slept. When I woke, Mad Boy was sitting by his fire. Grandad tapped me on the shoulder and led me away to food and sweet tea. In my dreams, I'd been walking the land with Mad Boy, telling him the stories Grandad had told me. He'd been telling me new stories, old stories, stories even Grandad didn't know. He'd been well and happy, and he laughed easily. That day, we gathered more food than we needed. It took all day, and we only just made it back to the alcove as the sun was setting. At the bottom of the gorge, Mad Boy was looking weaker than ever. "Now?" I asked Grandad. "Soon. You know that." And I did. Soon. When the sun set, the gorge was plunged into darkness. Mad Boy's fire had died, and he didn't seem to have the energy to find wood. Spotlights. That's what I thought at first. Some crazy ruse shooter had got lost. The wild, bright golden light filling the gorge. It was him again. The smiling man, the man in black. But changed again. Changed completely. No more disguises. Shining, blazing with light. Wings spread from his back and every feather like a beacon light. Oh, he was beautiful. So incredibly beautiful. And so incredibly cold. "Up!" he whispered to Mad Boy. "Get up. I have things to show you. Offers to make." Mad Boy moaned and rolled away from him, blinded. But the shining man lifted him by his collar, and with a single flap of those magnificent wings soared into the air. He stopped by our alcove, hovering. "Want to watch heaven fall?" he asked. He asked us. Grandad wouldn't look at him, refused to even acknowledge he was there. I couldn't resist. "Good lad," he laughed, grabbing me in his other hand as if I was a child's doll. We flew upwards through the clouds and so high I could see the towns of the plains and the rivers glistening in the starlight. Up higher than any mountain, through the atmosphere until we could see the curve of the world and the lights of a million cities. I'll never forget it. A whole world of people. Lights in the darkness. A sense that it could all be ripped apart. A sense that it could all come together. A sense that it would all come down to one choice. The shining man spoke in a voice that was nothing like human, in a language I didn't know but could understand. He sounded ancient and weary and cruel and contemptuous. He spoke to Mad Boy, and in his voice there was a hatred so real that I thought he might drop us both. But there was also a fear so dark and so palpable that he was nearly choking on it. "Boy, you see this? All this madness and folly and cruelty and brokenness, all this beauty and potential, every kingdom and country, all these I will give you to do with as you like, if you will fall down and worship me." I saw Mad Boy look down at the world, full of all the mess that we've made. I watched him think. I watched him decide. I saw him smile. I heard him laugh, exactly as he had in my dream, a wild, happy, crazy, generous laugh that rang through the stars, making them flare and fizz until their light outshone the shining man and his thrashing wings. The mad boy spoke. "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, 'Worship the Lord your God, and serve only him.'" Then he laughed again, and as he laughed, the feathers began to fall from the shining man's wings. We began to fall back towards the earth, towards the gorge, towards the country Grandad had been teaching me, and the country reached for us and caught us and set us down softly by the waterhole. The shining man was gone, and the last feather fell into the fire that Grandad had made. It caught and shone and died. He was cooking the extra food we'd gathered that day. Mad Boy collapsed to the ground. I looked at Grandad. It's now, isn't it?" I asked. He smiled his secret smile and put his hand on mine. I cradled Mad Boy and dribbled some water through his parched lips. The cockatoo screeched, just once, and flew up into the night. 3 days later, Mad Boy was full and fit to walk back home with us. We laughed most of the way back. Even Grandad.